The biggest learning has been that you don't run after a job because you like it, but you like the job which you're doing. When you go for funding, they always say, make your first million, come back to me for the second. AI has been one of the most disruptive technologies so far. But what is AI? Disruptive to the extent that everyone feels that AI can replace manpower, AI replaces wisdom.
Gotcha.
It does not. Actually, AI puts various wisdom together and gives it to you in a plateau.
Yeah.
You should give them the freedom to fly, but continue to be the wind below the wings.
Gotcha.
A sincere entrepreneur who needs to build an organization, business, which stands by itself, grows over years, would need governance in terms of support system.
Gotcha.
There should be people around to help him do or achieve his passion and dreams instead of being people who are there to pull it down.
Hi, wonderful entrepreneurs, coming on board for another episode of The Governance Edge, the ideas that's worth inspiring and worth bringing it on board. Welcome from Suresh Menon. We have somebody today who, without much ado, I need to get into the podcast quickly because we're going to get real nuggets of wisdom on this episode today, which even if one of them makes sense for you, wonderful entrepreneurs, I would have believed that the Governance Edge would have got its focus in terms of driving your companies to glory and to reach your respective ambitions. Somebody who's been a crisis crasher, somebody's been, crisis crasher, that's the designation, okay? In real earnest, somebody has moved from being BE honors with a gold medal from the Guindy College of Engineering to IIM Calcutta, somebody who's been in machine tool industry at Ashok Leyland, moving into automation when that sunrise industry started in the Tata Group into Forbes Campbell. Somebody's got huge chunks of information, of knowledge, not by only this educational qualification, but with understanding reality in the space of sales, service, manufacturing, production planning, setting up factories, understanding HR and human dynamics, dispute resolution, and so on and so forth. I have the phenomenal AV Suresh, AVS as I fondly call him, AVS as the world fondly calls him with respect, on board this amazing podcast. Welcome on The Governance Edge, AVS.
Thank you, Suresh. It's a pleasure being with you as always. And you always introduce me more than what I am. And it's a pleasure to address these entrepreneurs who are budding, who are energetic, and who have an aspiration and passion to succeed in the future. I'm here to share a little knowledge and experience which could matter for them, or in the current age, it could be looked at as fudgy-dudgy. But each and every knowledge which you have based on the past certainly has some impact on the present and the future.
See, like I said, we always rolled on. The nugget of wisdom has already come. Humility. That's the first thing, right? The man himself reincarnates humility in such an amazing manner. I'm so glad that we are here, honored really, and a pleasure. I'm sure that every aspect that you will communicate today and across our social media platforms is going to add value to so many different entrepreneurs. Not only startups, but MSMEs today is going through a lot of disruption, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of not knowing what to do when. Your words will definitely be a great manna from heaven, sir. I want to ask you, roles in industries which were evolving, right? That journey that you took up. It's fine to look back now and say, this is where you did, this is what you did. But at that point of time, was it in your own space disrupting the protocol of what should be a job that IIM graduate should take or a gold medalist should take? Did you break certain norms when you did what you did at that time? Something about your story.
Well, like everybody else, I joined as a trainee. Whether you're a management graduate or an engineering graduate, training in the initial phase is a very critical thing.
When you say training on the job?
Training on the job. Basically, I've been fortunate enough to go through various facets of a typical organization. Though I stayed in one organization for 30 years.
Wow.
30 full years. Basically, the biggest learning has been that you don't run after a job because you like it, but you like the job which you're doing. It's more important that every assignment which you get, if you put your heart and soul into it, and if you use it as a learning opportunity, you can certainly enjoy what you're doing. And I strongly believe that once you enjoy your work, there is no getting tired or getting bored or not wanting to do something. Typically, when I used to work in Eureka Forbes, I used to travel about 27, 28 days a month as head of the direct sales. At that time, the only time I could get to sleep was when I was traveling from place A to place B in a bus or train. So people used to ask me, how do you do that? When I go to a branch, they ask me, how do you do that, sir? What happens? I mean, do you get tired? I said, being with you is what matters to me. And if I enjoy every bit which I do and not take it as a task, then you don't get bored or tired or fed up. So talking about the various portfolios which I was fortunate to handle, like I said, not everybody gets an opportunity to work in multiple portfolios. I started in production planning and control. And then, like you introduced me, I was named or designated as a crisis crasher, which was more of a job as an executive assistant to our managing director, a Swedish gentleman, whom I still look at as a guru for teaching me a lot of things in life. So that particular point of time, it was a particular assignment to introduce a new model of a typewriter, and which was going through a lot of problems. So the designation came with the job role, not the other way
Other way
around.
around.
So it was a crisis crasher to close the various issues which was done. After that, I was into metals management, I was into corporate planning, I was into supply chain management. And then finally, when I left Facet Asia, which was then a Swedish company, we moved into Eureka Forbes. In Eureka Forbes, again, I moved in as a head of service, which was not part of my career plan. When I first heard that I got to head service, I said, gold medalist engineering, IIM Calcutta graduate, you really want me? Because the perception of service was something different in my mind at that time. Then after I got in and realized that it's not something different, it's also equally a role which is equal to sales, which is what I equated my service team with. I said there is no distinction or distance between the sales team and the service team. As a matter of fact, I believe that the service team is more critical because they have to retain the relationship with the customer. Like we used to say, sales gets a customer, service retains them through their service and relationship. And we also used to have a department called Customer Relations Management, which was through service. And they are the people who make them happy in terms of communication.
Got you.
So then I got in, and to answer your question very specifically, that was the only point when I thought, am I doing it right? Should I take up the role in service? But there is no regret at all because I learned a lot and I also worked hard to educate myself on how to do things in service. And then I moved into multiple portfolios, started heading sales. I was looking after direct sales and retail sales and industrial sales. Started 3 manufacturing units at one point of time, looking after 5 manufacturing units parallelly. All this was a learning experience, and as long as you enjoy what you do and put your full 100% into the job, there's nothing which can look back.
I think being the man for all seasons, you are somebody for me who naturally evolved into the role of being president and CEO of Eureka Forbes. And not that designation came in, the roles made you a natural organization man, right? If I can say that. Did it happen because of the fact that you looked at this role or this job from an entrepreneurial angle? Was, when you look back now, I don't know whether that's the right word to use in English, called intrapreneur, because you're in an organization. But was the entrepreneurial instinct in you, whether you were handling HR or production planning or materials or sales or service, because you disrupted that thought process when saying service as a true sales profession came into being. At that time, I'm sure a lot of people would have not thought about service being something to do. It was probably to be done by the laggards, but you got it on the forefront. Was entrepreneurship, that instinct in you, like you said about passion, was an entrepreneurial passion a key ingredient in the way you took up these amazingly different positions?
Very much true. What you said is very much true because every individual is entrepreneurial. Every individual has the entrepreneurial skill, passion, and want to do things by themselves. One thing which I learned through experience is when you empower people, and let them do what they think is right and what is good for the business, not going beyond the boundary lines, then we find that they give the best. The entrepreneurial skill comes out automatically when you empower a person to start doing things. So I have been fortunate to be empowered to do things, to bring about changes, to get people going, and of course deliver the results which is expected. And that brings the best out of you.
Okay. So in a way, just started to interject here. So empowering an entrepreneur and defining a framework, is that important to have a framework?
It's
And
important.
let them play within that framework.
In an organization, it's always good to have. It's like I always say, if you're playing football in a ground and you don't have goalposts,
Right.
where will you kick? I mean, you'll keep dribbling all over. You wouldn't know where you're going. So similarly, in a work organization, if you don't have specific boundaries and specific goalposts, you keep dribbling without an end. So it's good to do that. But how you dribble, whom you pass it on, how you play, and how you kick the goal is where the entrepreneurial skills come
Comes
in.
in.
And also the individual's talents, potential. Each and everyone have their own hidden potential and talents. Not that everybody is equal, not that everybody is the same.
Yeah.
Very often we tend to miss that hidden potential because you don't see it. And we try to drive that person to do things what you want.
Yeah.
Whereas he or she might have an opportunity to do things better than what we think they have. That's what I mean by entrepreneurial skills.
Got you.
So you give that person the freedom, the empowerment, the space to work on it and then exhibit the latent potential for growth, for sales, for service, for customer relations, whichever.
Right.
I'm sure we'll get the best out of the person.
Got you.
But like I said, it's required to have a boundary so the organizational values and governance and those sort of things are taken care of. It cannot be let loose.
How much are you being a mentor to entrepreneurial corporates? Do you think the time is ripe, or maybe the time is already was ripe and we've probably not done it, to corporatize entrepreneurs? Is that the right English word? I'm not sure. I'm not a master's in English, but I want to use that word.
English is a language where you can use words and get away with it because there's no right and wrong.
Great. That's a personal wisdom. You really encouraged me to break away from my framework. Thank you. So, what I want to ask you, AVS, is you have been a mentor, you are a mentor to entrepreneurial corporates, which tells me that a lot of corporates tend to stagnate, tend to feel that they are the corporates, so they cannot be entrepreneurial. They probably have their frameworks coming out to them as strictures. That's for another day, we'll speak about that. But today, I want to speak about the importance of entrepreneurs, whether it's a one-man show, one-woman show, it's a board, it's a group of directors, doesn't matter. Corporatization, the right English, I got it. Corporatization of entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial talent pool, is it important? By that I mean, how important is to have a structure for corporate or entrepreneurial governance in corporates? Is it in entrepreneurs? Is it something to start from day one, or is it to do when they achieve XYZ turnover? What is your take on governance?
I'll go back to your first point before the entrepreneurial governance.
Please, sir.
You talked about entrepreneurs who go all over. I had the privilege of being in one of the selection committee for startup companies of school students and college students.
Okay.
I was amazed, honestly amazed at the level of knowledge, the entrepreneurial skills, the thought process, the passion, the presentation skills, the confidence which they answer questions, especially with school children. But what really sort of amazed me was there were two schools completely in terms of the entrepreneurs. One who wanted to build an organization, who said, okay, I'm going to start this is my fundamental plan, that's what I want, and this is what I want to be 10 years from now. There's another school, which even before they presented what they had on hand, they said, how much will my company be valued at?
That was the question.
Correct. So such people who are working towards a company valuation as a goalpost, they are the people who normally tend to go outside the
Designated
lines
frame.
and start doing things. The others who are real entrepreneurs, who are born entrepreneurs with an intention to build an organization over a period of time, they are the people who really are long term.
Got you.
So when you say framework, the framework for both are different.
Got you.
This is the second one, the entrepreneur who wants valuation. It's like a child in a toy shop.
Yeah.
You give me this, you give me that, you give me this, you give me that. End of the day,
Yeah.
will I get my $1 billion?
Yeah. Like a balloon that aimlessly goes all over.
There, it's not governance, it's policing which is required. It's not governance. Whereas here, it's an entrepreneur who means business, who wants to build an organization. Governance comes in as a big aid to that entrepreneur. When you get into whether it's a 20-year-old entrepreneur or a 50-year-old entrepreneur, it really doesn't make a difference. An entrepreneur is an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur.
Right, sir.
So when they get into business, typically everybody cannot have experience in all fields. So the entrepreneur has certain thoughts, certain ideas, certain innovative things which he or she wants to do. That entrepreneur needs also guidance in terms of what can be done, how it's to be done, and what is sustainable and what is not sustainable. If you put too much of a constraint onto them, then the whole entrepreneurial spirit is gone. You should give them the freedom to fly, but continue to be the wind below the wings.
Got you.
You don't start becoming the wings and say, do this, do that, do this. So the entrepreneurs typically don't like governance only because sometimes, especially if they invest money into it, then they start looking at it as, like, my money is there, I've got to safeguard it, what can I do? Then the whole concept of entrepreneurial innovation, passion, skill is lost. But governance in terms of bringing experience, wisdom, or thoughts from outside, like for example, how to manage teams, how to work with people, how to recruit the right person, how to do a balance sheet, how to do a trial balance, how to do a P&L, how to optimize costs, where do you call it the end, how do you monitor whether you're progressing towards your benchmark. All that needs help. It's not
Yeah.
something which everybody can do everything. If you ask me today, after in spite of all my experience across so many verticals and functions, I can't do a trial balance today. It's not my strength.
Right.
So for that, I would need help.
Yeah.
So thinking that we can do everything, an entrepreneur cannot get into a mold saying that I know it all,
Right.
and hence I can do it. A sincere entrepreneur who needs to build an organization, business, which stands by itself, grows over years, would need governance in terms of support system.
Got you.
There should be people around to help him do or achieve his passion and dreams instead of being people who are there to pull it down.
Yeah.
As long as they feel that they're adding value to what they're doing, every entrepreneur would be more than happy to have a governance.
No, got you.
But I personally feel that the entrepreneur does need governance in terms of ensuring that he or she gets the best out of what's available. Let loose is a very important thing. Like I said, if the objective is to make money, buy houses, build a yacht for yourself and get an aeroplane, helicopter, whatever, then it's different ballgame altogether. You can still do it.
Yeah.
You can, if you're good at presentations, if you're good at talking, if you're able to convince the other person on the other side that what I'm thinking is right, you get the money, you do this. There are enough cases which you're aware of,
Yes.
and we all know
The
what
monies have been
happened.
spent unwisely.
And we all know what happened to such companies.
We were discussing, you mentioned about governance has to be policing, or governance can be a support system. So you're of the opinion that governance can have different shapes, and it has to be derived from the aspect of how an entrepreneur is shaping up. An entrepreneur is unruly, so to say, in a respectful form. Their policing comes in more. Somebody who's got a structure of an organization, guidance and support comes in more. So governance has to be ready to spur the inspiration and the aspiration of an entrepreneur without being a bottleneck. But the modalities has to change.
different, yeah.
Right? And you believe it has to happen from day one when enterprise starts. It's good to have
I would say day two.
day two.
Day one is when you're just fishing and feeling the ground and you're still learning.
Right.
Typically, like whether small MSMEs or it's a regular big corporates,
Yeah.
we have the concept of independent directors who come into the.
Right.
But the bigger point is, even in terms of the board of governance, how well they can do is first you got to get an insight into what the business is. You cannot stand in the periphery and expect to know the business, and then you're not guiding them. Actually, most often you tend to misguide them.
Oh.
So you need to get the insight into the business first. See if you don't understand the business, there's no way you're going to guide. So the insight into this is important. Second thing is, I think, again, big company or small companies, the board or the directors need to add value to what's happening. It's not a question of to check whether your compliance is being handled or not. It's a question of how much value can you add to bring in newness to the organization. How much value can you add, like for example, in the current geopolitical situation where everything is uncertain.
Right.
You get up this morning something, tomorrow morning something, tonight something. There's nothing which is certain.
Right.
From that angle, a good governance board would be in a position to tell you or anticipate things in advance and say that how can we manage to stay. You may not grow at that point of time. You may not do wonders at that point of time.
Right.
Because it's beyond your control.
Yeah.
But how to sustain, how to live on, how to make sure that your business continues
Right.
is something which a good governance can do, which can happen only if you have insight into the business.
Got you.
I might be a good HR specialist, HR consultant, but the point is if I don't know the person actually doing the job in that organization, then I won't be able to add value.
And what
to
does
it
HR as a function relate
in that
to that organization?
Correct. And the entrepreneur will have his own reasons for doing something. So you should understand the entrepreneur's point of view also. Get an insight on what sort of a person is looking for.
Right.
And why. There should be a reason why he's doing that.
Got you.
Certainly all of them have beyond the normal conversation of knowing what they want. But sometimes it doesn't come from back. It stays within and they're not able to express. So for example, like I used to coach and mentor a NGO, small NGO. So what happened is that that person had a lot of passion, a lot of commitment, and she was somebody from the good IT world. She used to work in a top 5 company. She just gave up everything one day and started
the NGO.
When NGO to do skill development for the urban slum. That was a passion. So when I got into her business through my foundation called Avanti Foundation, I realized that she has passion. She has, all the knowledge of what needs to be done, but she was lacking in terms of understanding the business point of view, how to sell the goods which they have manufactured, how to account for it, how to price it, how to cost it, whom to approach in marketing. So I was trying to groom her in that angle, but she was initially very reluctant.
Right.
The reason is, she said, no, I am here to create life for these women and the children, and I want them to have a good livelihood. I said, great, but how long can you do it?
Right.
So without disturbing that passion, by just adding value from the periphery in terms of knowledge, in terms of how to do costing, how to do marketing, how to sell the products, we grew.
Yeah.
And after, I'm talking about say 10 years back, and now she's a full-fledged NGO doing wonders with 200 families.
Wow.
Making a true difference to the families, not the individuals.
Right.
Where the children are educated, they've got gas connections, they've got power connections. The husbands who were drunkards are not drinking anymore. So a world of difference. So there it's a question of even entrepreneurs have their own passion, own ideas, why they started something. So if you're going to go in from outside and say, no, this is not what you started for, then you're killing it.
Got you.
So you need to do a proper governance. When you asked me day one whether you should have governance, that's why I said no. Let the person first get into it. And when the person has got into it and is in the process of growing or civilizing and going to the next level, as you call it in financing, seed A capital, B capital, C capital, whatever. So that way when it comes to this B capital part of it, that's when you need governance, that's when you need help to grow. When you go for funding, they always say, make your first million, come back to me for the second.
Right.
Nobody is going to fund the first million.
Right.
Same here, leave him to do the first million, let them burn their hands, let them learn from experience.
Let them want to have
correct.
someone to come.
They should also feel the need, the necessity to have someone to help.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a question of thrusting yourself on someone who doesn't need you.
Yeah.
It's like doing service to community.
Yeah.
Like in the Rotary, we always say, do a need analysis before you do something. You're doing a lot of things because it makes you happy, because it makes you satisfied, satisfies your ego. But that's not what is service.
That's be sustainable and
Sustainable, and they should need it. They should feel the need for it, only then it has value.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just giving something and you can rest assured it won't be maintained. You go 1 week later, it's not there.
Yeah.
Similarly, here also, they should feel the need, okay, I think I need help in HR. Oh, I need help in finance. Can somebody help me in supply chain? Then you put them together.
Got you. That reminds me of this monkey story which saw the fishes fighting under the water. And he said he will go and intervene and remove the fish from the fighting. Took the fish out, put it on land. The fish was dead. So that's a classic case when you intervene when it's not required.
Correct.
And they will solve it yourself. But you mentioned such amazing nuggets of wisdom. I was going to ask another question. How important is knowledge, the governance and the directors or the advisors on the governing boards when they come in? They come in like you said, they have to be knowing the business inside out, right? They cannot come in only knowing a subject matter. Somebody cannot be a finance expert or an HR expert or a materials expert or a production expert or a inventory expert. Somebody comes in there understanding the business tenets, the business as it stands. Then only they can add value in whatever they will advise the founders or the entrepreneurs. That's a great takeaway, unique wisdom. I want to ask you, as a governance board, when you say day two, when they start off, it's good to have well-wishers who will speak, who understand the business and who will speak their mind to be on the board, right? That is to be, entrepreneurs should agree to have somebody who will speak their mind,
Right.
and not say yes every time, but they are obviously well-wishers. It's important for that aspect to be also tick-marked, right? To get them on board.
Very much. Very
Need
much.
not be professionals, can be well-wishers who have wisdom.
Who have experience, wisdom, knowledge.
Yeah.
That's very true. But it's equally important that the so-called governance board, or they also have the ability to listen from the other side.
Oh.
It's not that it's a one-way conversation. I say to do it.
Yeah.
It should be always a two-way conversation between the entrepreneur. And typically, if you have a group of 3 people in the governance board, all 3 of them have individually certain skills.
Got you.
But if they are able to interact between themselves, they can collectively give much more value to the organization than individually.
Okay. In a way, the fact that you were entrepreneurial, you've been looking at these businesses of governance, of understanding people, has that added to the Rotarian AVS, to the philanthropist AVS, to the angel AVS, who's added value across social circles? Has that come because of your entrepreneurial corporate mindset and the way you handled it? Has it played a role for you to become a social activist, if I can use that word?
No, I'm not a social activist for sure.
What I mean is somebody who's active in socialism.
Social activist.
Because an English word, right?
I do very little. I'm sure I can do much more.
Yeah.
The point is that very often during our working life, we take things for granted, and we, like I said, we give everything into our work life if you're passionate and you're putting 100% to the job. Subsequently, you also start realizing there are a lot of people, a lot of situations around you which are not what they could be. They could be better, certainly. So my work experience, working with 10,000, maybe I can spend 2 minutes on
Please,
this
sir.
one.
Always.
Working with 10,000 salesmen in Eureka Forbes was by itself a great experience in learning.
10,000 salespersons at one time.
On the field.
At one time.
At any point of time.
Any point of time, yeah.
So they are not MBA graduates, they're not graduates, they're all school dropouts, but they had a passion, they had a
drive,
the right aptitude,
yeah.
And you call the stomach burning for more. And we used to really take them raw and train them to become salesmen. So when personally I used to see these salesmen coming from really small-time family, becoming somebody really worth its name, I felt so happy.
Right.
So that also is, in your language, social activism.
Absolutely.
So what happened was that, I can give you a couple of examples. There was a young person, maybe 18, 19 years old. His father was blind, mother was a house help, and sister was crippled. So, and he was working hard to just earn that money. So later, 5 years down the line, he was from Goa actually, but he was working from Bombay. 5 years down the line, just through his own hard work, it's not that we donate any money, through his hard work, earning incentives, earning commissions, he managed to build a house. He managed to get his father treated for his blindness. He got crutches and mobility aids for his sister. His whole life changed. And when I saw it personally, I felt so happy. So that's when I realized that the happiness which you get by doing things to others, directly or indirectly, there's no substitute for that.
Got you.
As humans, we're always greedy. We want more, we want more, we want this, we want that. Anything you have is not enough.
Right, sir.
But there are many, many who don't even have the basics.
Yeah.
We had a salesman called Clyde Rodrigues, who was one of our best salesmen. Excellent relationship with customers. He had a heart attack on the field one day when he was driving. We did our best and immediately tried local sources, got him admitted, and he survived, for which he is eternally grateful. But the point which I am trying to bring out is he was so much into the job that though he was working out of home, he still made sales through his reference selling.
No.
And he was trying to earn equal amount. So when I see such people giving in their life for an organization, what would you call it? I would say it's individual entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
You need not do it.
No.
You'll get your salary anyway.
Yeah.
But the point is that he or she does things beyond the call of duty.
Yeah.
That's where the true entrepreneurial spirit or the skills or the passion is there.
It really drives them to achieve that goal they've set for yourself. It's a personal journey
Yeah.
that they want to be validated by achieving. That's what you learned.
I still remember or still can taste the rum-soaked Christmas cake he used to give me every year.
Oh, I could see that, sir. God bless him and his soul.
Talking about AI,
Yes, sir.
I think AI has been one of the most disruptive
Yes, yes.
technologies so far. But what is AI?
Which humans have created it.
It's the information from the data of the age-old wisdom.
Yes, yes.
It's not something which is created.
Yes.
The artificial intelligence has not created anything which is like if I open any write-up from AI, it's about the past.
Yes.
Like if
The learning from the past.
taking from various sources of data, which is again age-old wisdom.
Yes.
So basically, the disruptive AI again is disruptive to the extent that everyone feels that AI can replace manpower, AI replaces wisdom.
Got you.
It does not.
Got
Actually, AI puts various wisdom together and gives it to you in a plateau.
Yeah. It's a kind of curated wisdom. Yeah.
And that AI ultimately is something which is also going to disrupt the whole economy, the whole world at one point of time.
Right, sir.
Because the whole data, the whole information is actually being cornered into 3-4 different places.
Yes.
And like the Strait of Hormuz,
Yes.
at one point of time, somebody can just strangle that whole data and say, unless you give me billions of dollars,
Yeah.
you don't get your data back.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what is that? That is age-old wisdom which is going to bring in billions of dollars.
Dollars
Yeah.
in a format of being not strangulated, but also channelized in a way, and also it leads to the fact that curated wisdom is so relevant to happen and to look at it. So that's an important aspect that you said. It's important to understand that this distilled wisdom is what boards should constitute today in the driving the entrepreneurs and business owners. You've been a mentor to both entrepreneurial corporates and corporatized entrepreneurs. Moving forward, you work with engineering and manufacturing. Is that your passion? Moving forward, is that something that drives you to mentor, to govern?
Which is normally the neglected area.
Okay. As a mechanical engineer, you have that grouse, right? Somewhere digitalization has taken over.
Correct. But without that, it cannot digitalize. What is digitalization?
Yeah. Core engineering is so important.
I would love to. I would love to certainly be a part of the journey towards grooming and guiding entrepreneurs who can add value to the society.
Product manufacturers, engineering, and so on and so forth. So there we go on this governance edge. We started this show saying that the governance edge, ideas that inspire the board, but I am sure all of you will agree that it's not the ideas alone, it's the wisdom that inspires the board. That's what we have got from Mr. Wiseman himself, AVS, on this amazing podcast show, wisdom that is distilled, wisdom that will make sure that each one of you will be inspired to govern your boards, to govern your companies, to reach new heights of glory and reach your ambition. Thank you so much, AVS.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you, sir.